All right, let's talk about product marketing. But let's talk about what it feels like when it's really, truly working inside your company. Because the answer, well, it's probably not what you're expecting. Actually, it's pretty much the exact opposite.
You see, good product marketing, it doesn't feel exciting. It's not this big, high-energy, creative burst. You're not going to see this constant buzz of newness coming from the team. And you know what? That's actually the very first sign that you're on the right track.
In fact, when it's really humming along, the feeling is, well, it's quiet. It's like this deep calm just settles over the way your whole company talks about itself. And that quiet, that predictability, that's the thing that so often gets mistaken for a lack of impact.
So that brings us to the big question, right? How can silence, this total absence of noise and churn, how can that possibly be the clearest signal of success for product marketing? Let's dig into that.
First up, the bias toward motion, or why we expect busy work. To really get this, we have to start with ourselves, with our own biases. As leaders, we're conditioned to look for motion. We've been trained our whole careers to see activity and think value, to see constant output and think progress.
And these biases, they create an expectation for noise, right? We start expecting a constant stream of new language, new stories, new positioning decks. It's this visibility bias that makes us think, hey, if I don't see the product marketing team shipping stuff, then they must not be doing anything. But that's fundamentally mistaking activity for actual value.
And this leads to a really crucial shift in how we think about the role. The main job of product marketing isn't to constantly produce novelty, it's to produce stability. I want you to think of it more like an architect, someone who creates a solid, reliable foundation that the rest of the company can confidently build on. Okay, so section 2, what stops changing, or the architecture of stability. If the goal is stability, what does that actually look like day to day? What parts of the organization start to feel fixed, reliable? Let's take a look at the architecture of that stability.
The simplest way I can put it is this. When product marketing is really working, fewer things change. The variance gets reduced. That constant churn, the constant reinventing of core ideas, it slows way down. And eventually, it just stops.
So what stops changing? Well, first, your core language stabilizes. The way your sales team, your marketing team, your product team, the way they all talk about the company becomes totally consistent. You just start hearing the same phrases, the same value props, used naturally and correctly across the board.
Next up, the way you frame the problem stabilizes. Suddenly, everyone in the company has this shared, settled understanding of the customer's problem. That why behind all the work becomes locked in. Everyone just gets it.
And then your internal explanations stabilize. Teams don't have to keep re-explaining the strategy to each other or to every new person who joins. The core story becomes so embedded that it's in the air. It's ambient knowledge.
And of course, all that internal alignment creates incredible clarity externally. The market's understanding of who you are and what you do it solidifies. Your customers and prospects, they just get it without you having to blast them with a new message every quarter.
The feeling inside the company is it's palpable. People stop arguing about words. They stop reopening decisions that were settled months ago. Think about all that energy that was being spent on internal debates. It's now freed up and focused exactly where it should be, outward, on the market.
All right, section 3, conversations that disappear, or the sound of alignment. This stability, it leads to the most subtle but maybe the most powerful signal of all. The sound of alignment. And that sound, it's the absence of certain conversations. They literally just disappear from the building.
So here's the key. You have to stop measuring success by what you see the product marketing team doing. Instead, you have to start measuring it by what you no longer hear. The real signal, it's the absence of churn, not the presence of activity. For example, you stop hearing this one, "We need a new story." That phrase, which is almost always a sign of desperation or just a lack of confidence, it just vanishes when your core narrative is stable and it's actually working.
You also stop hearing that reactive cry of, "The market didn't get it." You know the one. When your positioning is clear and consistent, you just have fewer failed launches or campaigns that need a frantic postmortem and a total rewrite.
And those endless debates over tiny little wording changes, they just fade away. Those meetings where everyone bike sheds a headline, they're gone. And it's not because people are being silenced. It's because the system doesn't need that conversation anymore. The language is already doing its job. And finally, you stop hearing, product marketing needs to fix this.
The function is no longer seen as this reactive repair service for broken messaging. Instead, everyone understands it as the proactive architect that prevents those breaks from happening in the first place.
Which brings us to our final section, stability, not productivity. This is the true signal. As leaders, we have to retrain ourselves to look for signals of stability, not just the easy-to-spot signals of productivity.
So let's break it down. On one side, you have the false signals, the things we think are productivity, constant new decks, frantic firefighting, a general sense of busyness. And on the other side, you have the true signals of stability, consistent language, predictable outcomes, and this feeling of a deep, calm alignment.
So here it is, maybe the most important takeaway of all. If your product marketing function feels constantly, visibly productive, it's probably just compensating for an unstable foundation. It's spending all its time patching holes instead of preventing them.
And it's so important to understand this. That quiet, almost uneventful feeling. That's not stagnation. It's not a sign of inaction. It's the feeling of deep, foundational alignment. It is, quite literally, the sound of a well-tuned system. Because good product marketing doesn't need to shout. Its power isn't in the noise it makes, but in the structure it holds. It provides that steady, quiet foundation that allows the rest of the company to truly grow. Now that is the feeling of success. And in our final explainer on this topic, we're going to lay out the complete framework for how to actually achieve it.